Hey everybody, Sarah here from Project Shiro Studios. Some of you may know that I've been working on a webcomic called The Uncontrollable Wreck-Lass for the past 4 years. Previously, we've printed out little preview books, but now the whole thing is done, and we need a new book. So this video is going to be a process video about how I did the cover for our new trade. I drew the first 4 chapters before I had this big beauty, and the inks only really looked right if I did them by hand. So for the cover, I wanted to kind of go back and make a tribute to those before times and ink it on actual Bristol board. Now you can have these inks for your very own by pledging to our Kickstarter at the superhero tier. I'll put a link in the description. Definitely please check that out. Help us get this book funded. Campaign has a week left. We're already 75% of the way there, so this is doable, guys. Thanks so much to everyone who's already pledged in the campaign, and I'm gonna stop rambling about that. Let's get to the video.
I came up with a bunch of different designs for the cover. Here are the thumbnails that I'm working out. The first design was a bit more abstract. People just floating in a void, trying to attack Smugly. I really like the second one, because it had the kids being dwarfed by the shadow of Smugly. Didn't end up using that one. I didn't end up using a lot of these, actually. Maybe there'll be prints in the future. I wanted all of them to be some kind of wraparound cover, so there's some kind of back element to the design. These last 3 are all iterations on the same theme, but you couldn't really tell that it was a tale from just the front cover only. Especially with my simple animation style drawings. And here is all of those designs up close. Maybe some of them will be prints in the future. And now begins the long process of tweaking. I think I ended up doing 2 or 3 different pencil passes on this. It's all been sped up by 400%. The whole process of drawing the cover took me about 4, 5, 8-hour days working around chores and stuff. But I really enjoyed it. It brought me a lot of closure, which I didn't realize that I needed. When you're doing a webcomic and you have a deadline every week for 4 years, it definitely worms its way into your daily stability. And suddenly losing that when the comic was over, I didn't know what to do with myself. But doing all these final little drawings feels like I'm saying goodbye to these characters. I don't know if we're gonna do another Wreck-Lass story in the future. I'd be open to that. I think there's still a lot more stories that we have to tell in this universe. But for now, we're done. Even though these guys were gonna be half covered up by the logo, I still wanted to make sure that the design looked visually appealing. I might want to use it for some promo art in the future. And there you go. I printed it out on Bristol board, made sure that everything was cyan so that it wouldn't show up as well on the scanner. It's been a long time since I've done this, and because of that I didn't actually remember how I needed to do this and ended up printing it a little bit too dark. But it turned out okay in the end. The pens I'm using here are zebra brush pens. They are plastic nibs, so not a true brush. but I find that it strikes the perfect balance between control and artistry, if that makes sense. Still doing edits even in this stage. I tend to edit all the way through. Just using some microns for the fine lines. And I'm doing the blacks with some older zebra brush pens that the tips are no longer as sharp, so when they wear out, I use them to fill in little areas of black. And this is a Permapaque pen. You can get them on Amazon for real cheap. They're better for the larger areas. They have a lot of ink to them. So here I am back in Photoshop CS4, which I got in 2009. It's still good for cleaning up inks. You know how it is. Sometimes you don't need to upgrade, especially if they charge you an arm and a leg. The backgrounds I did in CSP because their vector layers are really great for monotonous backgrounds. And you might see flashing on and off the little guides that I made for myself, just to let myself know where the bleed lines are and the spine. Make sure everything's placed correctly. Eventually I decided to graduate the colors from nice and bright and cartoony on the front cover to more of a sunset kind of design that I used for the final chapter on the back cover. It's very subtle. I guess not quite as subtle when I put on the sky gradient, but you'll see that in a minute. Did some more tweaking of the line art because it came out a little crusty. And here's me deciding on the exact right version of sky, making sure that it looks nice within the boundaries of the covers. And my favorite part, the shading. The most relaxing bit, and it's always goes too fast. Just appreciating these designs one last time. The reason I wanted to do a new cover is because my art has grown so much from the first chapter to the last chapter. I thought everybody needed a refresh. Tweaking everything, making sure the colors are nice. And then I thought the background needed something. My patrons agreed. I decided to add a bunch of mind control waves. And then the last bit of this was just tweaking those waves to make sure they were visually appealing. Went through like 4 different iterations, I think, of these mind control waves. You can see that I wanted to take into account all of the different things that would be on the book, logos and descriptions and stuff. And here's the finished product. Beautiful wraparound cover for the Uncontrollable Wreck-Lass. On Kickstarter right now. If you haven't checked out the campaign, please do. We have a bunch of great rewards. And even if you don't support, I mean, sharing it is a support in and of itself. So, yeah, that's it. That's the video. Thanks so much to my dear patrons. Names are on the screen right now. You can become a patron and also support me at patreon.com/ProjectShiroStudios. Remember to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to see more of my work, including what's coming up after Wreck-Lass. Have a great day, great night, great whatever. See you next time.